Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Slurpathon, the final day, day 4. We are currently sitting at a total raise $2,808.02. We also have some bid wars incentives open right now for the next 2 runs, which are going to be Pokemon Puzzle League and Inscription. But to kick off the small puzzle block and the 4th day of Slurpathon, we have Jammitch, who's going to be playing some Tetrisphere for us. Good morning, Jammitch.
Good morning, Dot, and thanks to Slurpathon for having me. Today we're going to be doing Tetrisphere, and in particular we're going to be doing the first 3 episodes of Hide and Seek. So we're going to get right into it in 3, 2, 1, start. And thank you. And things are going to be flying out of the gate. I'll try to eventually explain what in the heck is happening, but the first levels are so fast that you're really not going to have time for me to explain them. Until we get through a few of them. But this is Tetrisphere. Ironically, it is neither Tetris nor a sphere. It has nothing to do with falling blocks. Instead, it's really a match 3 game. And we have to line up 2 pieces on the ball, and then drop a 3rd piece on the top, which activates a combo, removing pieces from the ball. And in doing so, we're going to be working through a bunch of mini-games, most of which are based around removing pieces from the ball, digging all the way to the bottom, and uncovering various things going on at the bottom of the ball. I also noticed that despite the name Tetris, most of the shapes are actually 3, so they're actually triominoes and not tetraominoes. Nintendo just licensed the name because they thought it would make more money, and they probably weren't wrong. So this mode is called Hide and Seek, and we're going to be playing a bunch of various mini-games. Each one's going to have its own different objective. We should be moving into one here called Tower, so I can start explaining what we have to do. So here we've got this big tower made of dead blocks that you can't interact with, and we need to dig out its base. So it does get in the way quite a bit. We do have this power-up we earned earlier. I'll talk more about those at length because we got a little bit of time. But it's really helpful for getting around the tower. You can just fire it. There we go. This next stage type. Every 5 stages we're going to have this stage type. It's called Hide and Seek, which actually is the same as the entire game mode Rescue. It's just rebadged for the Hide and Seek mode. And we have to free our little robot buddy who is hiding from us. Just have to uncover enough to let him out. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the first stage type we saw that I didn't explain. It's called Multi. And we just have to uncover one of these pictures. They're pretty small now, so it's easy, but they get a little harder as we get deeper into the episode. Next stage type is called Drill. We have these 5 pink things on the ball. They're called drills. Underneath one of them is a picture. We're hoping that we can find that picture relatively quickly. There it is. We would like to find it not on the 5th place we checked because that takes a lot of time. That's actually one of the big RNG factors in this run is how the drill stages behave. It wasn't too bad though. Now we're going to see a stage type we haven't seen yet called Unique. And this is a bad pattern. So we're going to get a little clever. We have to uncover this unusual shape. They call it Unique, but it's kind of a really misleading name because there's only 16 things it can be. It's not random. Well, it's random from a list of 16. This is called Shift. We're going to have to uncover 4 pictures on the ball here and then bring them together. So you can see they form this little chain link setup, and we need to get them in the right order. There we go. And now we're going to see another hide and seek.
You mind if I just hop in real quick? I received your donation.
Sure.
Wonderful. $15 from Puzzles with a message saying puzzle block height. I'm excited to see Jammitch kicking off Sunday and looking forward to hitting 3K today. Please put this towards Bulbasaur in the Pokemon Puzzle League game. That's literally how it's got spelled out. So thank you so much.
Just a little bit offset on this one. There we go. I will reveal that. Interestingly, to my knowledge, Tetrisphere and Pokemon Puzzle League are the only 2 N64 games that do not use the analog stick Oh, and there we see I took my first strike because I moved a little prematurely. So, the way the game actually puts pressure on you is that you are allowed 3 misdrops before you are kicked out of the level and have to start it over. So that was 1 misdrop there. We have 2 more to play with. The first one usually isn't that big of a deal. It can be annoying when it takes your power-up away, but now we got a second because my controller is kind of not great. So now we have to play a little more carefully. We really don't want to take that third one. That one's bad, but we're pretty much out of here, so there we go. Once the light hits, we start mashing to move on to the next stage. Here's a new stage type. This is called Connect. So we're going to reveal a small... No, that wasn't a 3 combo. Reveal a small 3x3 picture here, and I'm going to be a little thorough about it because there's going to be lines that go out from the picture, and those lines are going to connect to other pictures. And we have to uncover every one of those other pictures. Interestingly enough, we don't have to uncover the lines. Casually, you're supposed to follow these lines. In practice, there's only 8 patterns that this stage can be, so I know where they're all going to be based on what lines are coming out of the ball, or of the first picture at the beginning. Now, we did see brick earlier, but I didn't really explain it. We have to drop this brick onto the surface of the ball. And now we're going to get another hide and seek. So yeah, we drag the pieces using the B button. Very important to do that. If you do not do that, the game's going to be extremely difficult. Lets you line up your pieces much more easily than just trying to find combos on your own. So we could take a moment and talk about the power-ups. We haven't really used a lot of power-ups yet because in the early game, it's actually slower to use the power-ups than just to go for clearing the ball. But there's 3 ways you can earn a power-up. One is to find one of those fire blocks. I don't know if we've seen too many of them, but there are little fire blocks hanging out in the middle of the ball. There's one right there. That'll give you a power-up. The second is to make a 20 or larger combo. And the third is one that, even if you played this game as a kid, you might not even know about this. There's a gauge on the right side of the screen above the timer. It's really hard to see. If you fill that gauge up, you get a power-up. Slightly over. There are 6 power-ups, and each time you earn a power-up, it levels up. It's not random. They have an order. My mashing is a little off point today. So we're throwing away some power-ups, but we don't need them this early. The first power-up is this little rocket, and what the rocket does is just fires at the ball and blows away a little area of 1 layer. The second power-up is dynamite, which actually is an area of effect. It doesn't actually blow up directly where you fire, but it blows up a bunch of small areas around where you fire it. So it's good when you need to clear out large areas, and not so great when you just need to dig deeply. The third power-up is a magnet, which peels layers off the ball, and you can move it around while it's activating. There's just a lot of L's. The fourth power-up is the most situationally useful, which is the atom. It peels off the entire outer layer of the ball, which is useful when you know you need to dig a large area, even more so than the dynamite, but it's also not that great if you don't need to dig a large area, so we will likely only be using that power-up in Connect stages. Get this one out here. The 5th level of power-up is the Big Bomb, which is kind of like a more powerful rocket. It blows a hole 2 layers deep. And the last level is the Laser, which is kind of like the magnet, except rather than pulling pieces off the ball, it kind of blows them away like a series of smaller rockets, and again, you can move it around, so you can be really targeted with what you do with it. Trying to make a decision here as to whether we dig up or down. Up worked out pretty well. let's talk a little bit about that timer in the bottom corner. So you can see right now it's blue. If you sit around and don't do anything, you'll be fine for a while, but eventually the timer will turn yellow. And the timer turning yellow doesn't itself kill you, but what happens is the ball will start moving towards the screen rather ominously. And eventually, the ball will bop the camera, forcing you to drop. If that drop is valid, nothing negative happens, but the timer's still going, and you're still under that time pressure. If the drop is invalid, then what's going to happen is... I need to get this one out of here just to make sure that I'm not reading it wrong. This is a good pattern. Trust me on this. This is where it is. If you let the timer go past yellow, it will eventually turn red and start coming even faster. Again, none of this will inherently kill you, but when you start getting onto more difficult stages, it starts to get a lot harder to find combos, especially when they start increasing the number of piece types beyond just 2. Okay, this should get us out of this one. So on that connect stage, we got a really good pattern. Connect stages can have anywhere from 2 to 4 pictures to uncover, and that was one of the best ones because it only has 2 pictures to uncover. So you see me furiously tapping to try to get over to the part of the ball where I know the actual result is. And it's actually kind of hard to get the taps exactly right while going fast, because the N64 is, in fact, noticeably laggy in this game. Which is, you know, it's an N64 game. They're all kind of noticeably laggy when you get down to it. So we got one more episode or one more chapter in this episode. I don't actually know if there's a term for the chapters, but that's what I call them. It's 5 stages per chapter, 6 chapters per episode, and there are 5 episodes. The last 2 episodes take about twice as long as the first 3 combined. It's a 3-hour run. That one's a tough sell for a marathon. Maybe it's this one. I think we're out of ones to check, so hopefully we actually get it here. One thing that is very unpleasant is if you mess up your drill and you lose track of it, or if you accidentally have a drill break off screen and don't see it. There's this little pink dot hovering above the ball where the drill is, but it's extremely hard to see. If you are able to see it, congratulations. It's kind of in the top left corner of the screen there. But you really don't want to lose track of them because it gets extremely hard to find them again. Alright, we got one more unique, and then we have the last new stage type coming up next, which is a doozy. It's called Crystal Tower. So if you see those little gray blocks all over the ball, those are called crystal blocks. They fill in all the spaces that do not get normal pieces put in them. And they break whenever you drop a combo next to them, or whenever you slide through them. So Crystal Tower, it's like Tower, only now the tower is made of crystal blocks. If we break something next to the tower, the crystal blocks in the tower themselves will break. And if the crystal tower is damaged at all, you instantly lose the stage as if you had 3 strikes. And you have to start from the beginning. We do not want to start from the beginning. Fortunately, we have a little bit of a trick we can pull. The crystal tower is impervious to power-ups. So we can use power-ups and just fire them at the tower. It's a little bit odd to have all those corners hanging around like that, but it's just the way it is. Then we just have to clean up a little bit after the fact. that will come into play in a little more detail when we get to the slightly harder crystal towers that are coming up. When you get into the last couple episodes, they start throwing a lot more crystal towers at you, and then it gets incredibly stressful. But the ones in this mode, not too bad. And we're through episode 1. We have 2 more episodes. They're basically going to flow like that, only we're going to have just bigger digs. We're going to have to go deeper, and in some cases, wider with what we pull out of we have to clear out to get through. So, I'm going to catch my breath for a moment because that was a lot of explanation. If we have any announcements, this would be a great time.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Also, I do want to put in, if there's any questions in chat that you have for Jammitch about Tetrisphere, please drop them in there. He definitely said before the run while we were sitting in tech check that if there's any questions, I can bring them up, and he'll do his best answering them. Also want to talk about the bid wars that we have active right now, some of those incentives. So the next 2 runs during the puzzle block that's coming up after Tetrisphere, we have Tayman ND playing Pokemon Puzzle League, the One Piece Stadium Super Hard percentage, I guess you would call it, and then Kimokumi with Inscription, which is going to be really sick too, Act 1%, which is absolutely amazing. There are bid wars open currently right now for, of course, the choice of the Pokemon, so Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Squirtle for the first bid war, and then the second one is choosing the name for, I guess, the name of the death card, and it's going to be the top 2 names used out of that bid. But we're very, very close to actually hitting 3K. If we get those donations in and get the momentum moving for this last day, we can definitely hit that 3K with no issues. So, passing back to you, Jammitch.
Let's make sure that we get all those incentives hit. Pokemon Puzzle League is also extremely good watch. There's like 2 people who actively play Tetrisphere, and the other one is FFR Pro, who is a super strong Puzzle League runner as well. So yeah, this game, there is a lot going on in this game. It's actually extremely deep, and there's a lot of systems, so it is definitely something that can be a little bit hard to wrap your head around at first. Let's talk a little bit about how the blocks actually break. So, we're on a stage with all rectangles. Rectangles are a little bit less permissive in how they break, and they always need to have a full side lined up in order to break. When we start seeing the non-rectangles, the L's, T's, and Z's, they basically just need to be touching each other horizontally to break. So they tend to break a lot more easily. That's not true vertically. If you want to break vertically, you always have to line up the piece directly on top of another piece in entirety. But once we start getting about to stage 2-2, we will start seeing more of those non-rectangles, and that will have the end result of start seeing larger combos just because they break more easily. Pieces, you also might take a look at this and see when I'm dropping and be like, so many pieces are touching. How come when you have a T-block and you drop on it, it just doesn't just like break and like Swiss cheese the entire ball all the way underneath? Well, pieces are only interactable if they have at least one square uncovered on the top. It doesn't have to be all the way out to the sky, but it does have to be uncovered and at least open one space above. Once that one space is open, you can break it. And so we can take advantage of this to know exactly when we can do sideways digging if we did not start digging wide enough and we have to start chipping at the walls. We can look for ways to make that more efficient. I thought I grabbed that. Second, but also if you want to drop directly on a piece, you do have to be directly above it. A good way to get some more efficiency out of your drops is to try to drop things such that they are lined up at 2 different levels so that they break one above and then it drops down and breaks on another level below. Now, if you want to actually drag a piece, you do have to have a clear line of sight from it to the sky so that your cursor will interact with it, because your cursor will always grab the topmost piece, or, you know, not if it doesn't line up. And I didn't say this, but it kind of makes sense. The cursor, or the pieces in your queue, are only ever the kinds of pieces that you can actually use in the stage. It's not realistic to like clear out all of one type of piece in a stage. You don't have to worry about that like you would in, say, Bust a Move, Puzzle Bubble. There's also a wild piece. The wild piece can definitely be useful, but it does have the distinct disadvantage of it clones exactly what it's on top of, so you can't drop it to the side of something to start a combo like you might be able to with a actual specific piece. This is kind of an awkward setup.
I think this would be a good time to ask this question as well from Sparko in chat. She says, I just want to ask how you follow this game so well since it confuses the frick out of me. She also says that you're absolutely killing it.
Yeah, this is a very visually complex game for sure. It's just kind of... Vision is very important, and I just kind of have a good sense for it. This is a complete waste of a laser, but we're in for it now. Like I'm just constantly looking around, trying to see, okay, what do I need to do? Is there a combo in my range? If not, how far do I have to go to get one? And I'm also, as long as I have at least one strike in my pocket, I'm not too worried about making a mistake. I would rather get rid of a piece, especially if it's one that I don't otherwise think I need. The other big bit of tech, and I kind of think this is something I developed, but you know, I might be wrong. Certainly developed it independently. Is that the piece queue tends to give you a lot of stuff you don't want, tends to give you a lot of repeats. You almost never want to have more than maybe 2 copies of one piece in the queue. So a whole lot of the game is managing the garbage in your queue. Fortunately, you can almost always burn a second piece in your queue just by dropping twice really quickly. If you are frisky, you can sometimes get away with 3 or even 4 drops in one spot, especially if you got a longer combo setup in the area, because it's basically evaluating each one. Every drop it's checking, is there a combo in this area? And it doesn't completely take away the pieces that have already been cleared. So you do have a little bit of extra time to throw something on top of a stack. And by doing so, it does help you actually get what you need a little quicker. I kind of love doing these connect stages because it just makes me look like I have a sixth sense for here, and I don't so much have a sixth sense for where they are so much as a sheet of paper that tells me where they are. Pretty well memorized at this point, though. It's this one. This is the one. The connect stages are a huge amount of RNG in this run too, because especially as you get later into the run, how many of those pictures you have to dig out makes a huge swing on time, because it can be 20-30 seconds per picture you need to dig out. So if you get 2 pictures versus 4 pictures, that can be a minute just on one stage of entirely uncontrollable RNG. Welcome to puzzle games. Nice thing about puzzle games and RNG, though, is like it balances out. You're never going to have a puzzle game with perfect RNG. There's just too many events. So I tend to either play games with 0 RNG or so much RNG that it just all averages out in the long run. So we haven't talked about these little glowing pieces on the ball yet. Those are called power pieces. There's 2 ways those show up. The first is whenever you make a combo, if you watch when I start here, you're going to see the ball get sprinkled with stardust or something. You see these little balls rain down from the sky, and they're going to land on pieces, and they're going to make them glow. The second way is if you can find a set of crystal blocks and line them up with your cursor, then you can summon a power piece out of nothing. And this can be useful for bridging combos or just getting rid of, or just making bigger combos to clear larger areas faster. So the power pieces are special in 3 ways. The first way is that they reduce your timer, so they take you from yellow or from red towards yellow, yellow towards blue, or fill up the blue further so that you don't have as much time penalty pressuring you. The second way they help you is that they can actually climb, so I can actually bring this up 1 step. If I try that with a normal piece, I cannot bring it up a step. It will stop where it is and just stay on the level. It can fall down, but it cannot go up. We should be able to get out of here in this set if I can find a place to stick. Alright. A little bit of an awkward setup here. Slide this whole thing over. Alright, the third way that power pieces can help you out, and this is getting into score tech rather than speed tech for the most part, is that power pieces, when you drop on them, the combos run more slowly. So if you take a look at that drop, you'll see things on that one are busting 1 block at a time. If I drop a normal piece, they just kind of all go in one big burst. The slow combos have a number of benefits, especially if you're playing casually or especially if you're playing for score. In a speed run, a slow running combo can be a detriment depending on the context, because we're trying to go fast. But the benefits of slow running combos, first, it makes it easier to get that 20 combo, which lets you get a power up. So that can be extremely useful, even in a speedrunning context. And the second benefit it can give you, which is less useful in a speedrunning context, is that if you drop on a power piece and you make a slow-moving combo, you can actually grab the pieces out of the combo while it's running and drag them elsewhere. If you drag them elsewhere and it makes another combo, that combo will also activate. That's called a fuse combo, and it increases your multiplier in the top right corner. You'll see us sitting at 1x because we're speedrunning and we typically don't care about multiplier because we're not playing for score. I'll see if I have a good opportunity to demonstrate this here, so I'm going to take a second just to... that piece ran away from me. Okay. I'll see if I get a good opportunity to demonstrate it. I don't want to slow down too much to do it. So that increases your multiplier. There's a second way you can increase your multiplier, and it's called a gravity combo, and it's kind of what you would expect from the name. It's where you make a combo, and then another piece falls down due to gravity, starting another combo. So that also will increase your multiplier, and that's also easier to do with power pieces because they can climb. The multiplier maxes out at 20, but you can only gain up to 10x from power pieces and up to 10x, or from fuse combos and up to 10x from gravity combos. So if you want to max out your multiplier, you have to do both. This again doesn't matter a whole ton for speedrunning, except for crystal towers, which we will talk about the next time we see a crystal tower. But if you want to play for score, it's absolutely critical. This would be a good moment for any additional announcements that we have.
Absolutely. Just coming in and explaining a little bit of what we have going on for the charity. So we are sitting here raising funds. Basically, the funds that are being raised right now are actually partly impacting the Alberta Children's Hospital Foundation. We were very, very close to 3K, sitting at $2,823. We have those incentives open again, just plug that in. But talk a little bit about Extra Life. Extra Life brings together thousands of gamers around the world to play games and support their local Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Since 2008, Extra Life has raised over $70 million for sick and injured kids. What's awesome about Extra Life is the fact that it's so easy to get involved, whether if you want to actually run your own little tiny charity to raise money for whatever Children's Miracle Network hospital of your choice, or even to donate. You can just use in the chat right now the exclamation mark donate link or donate command, which will send a donate link. And then also to check out what we have going on throughout the schedule, you can use the exclamation mark schedule to see what we have for the last episode.
I know I had a former coworker who did her own little Extra Life event at least 1 year. Progressing through episode 2 pretty well. Yeah, I'm trying to match through the cutscenes there. Just my time here just a little bit off on that match today. There is a little animation, and you don't have to play it fully if you mash through it, and we're speedrunning, we don't want to. The game also always explains every single level type to me every time I play. I'm like, I don't need this. And that's another source of mashing. Alright. Tell from the lines. This line pattern, the line from above, actually has two things it could be. Got a little greedy there. One of them's really good, and we got the one that's just okay. Here, I'm gonna use this rocket. So I'm getting teased when I don't really need them, so we're trying to just manage the pile and get the pieces we actually need. I think we should be out of here now. Turned away from the glowy because I feel like that might be a lag reduction strat. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like it. It's an N64 game, right? So, there are actually 7 playable characters in this game with different stats. But it's actually such a subtle difference that you may not have even noticed when you had the game. So there's a spectrum of how fast the cursor can move when you're dragging a piece and how fast the cursor can move when you're not dragging a piece. The trick with this, though, is when you're speedrunning, it only matters when you're holding the button. And I don't ever hold the button. I always tap to where I want to go. It's a lot more precise. Which basically means those stats don't matter too much. So in the other category I run, Rescue, we just play the robot who has the shortest cutscene in between episodes. Which actually turns out to vary by robot. It turns out it's actually one of the slower robots that has the shorter cutscene. Hide and seek, though, we have all those drill stages where we have to go searching for the right drill, and we have all the stages where we have to go find the tower, etc., etc. In that situation, it does end up being worth it to use a character who can move faster when you just hold a direction, even though we lose some time on the cutscene that we get after episode 3 if we're playing the full game category. We just save more time by being able to find the drills faster.
Just wanted to hop in real quick. We had an individual just raid the channel. Thank you so much, JPH, for the raid. I wanted to announce as well, we're here raising money during Slurpathon 9. We're actually on our last day, day 4 of the marathon. We're sitting close to 3K. We have some bid wars open for some incentives and things like that. So if you do care to look into donating, use the donate command. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome in, Raiders. Let's see here. Kind of wanted to go back and grab that fire block, but a little more power up. Here it is. We have not had great drill luck this run. We've been getting a lot of 4th and 5th checks. Sounds like a rando at that point. I mean, it is. Puzzle games are the original rando. Right, we are coming up on the next Crystal Tower pretty soon, and that is definitely the last bit of major tech I want to explain, because the first one went so fast we didn't really get a chance to talk about it. See people mentioning the soundtrack in chat. Yes, this game has just an absolutely incredible soundtrack. It's by Neil Voss, who I think came out of the demo scene, which explains a lot. And he's made like 5 video game soundtracks for just the most random games, including like Tetrisphere, the N64, I think it's called the Next Tetris. It might have been the New Tetris, I never remember. A GBA game, racing game called Racing Gears Advance. And they're always just some of the most incredible soundtracks on their platforms. Okay, we're done here. Alright, oh, we got a crystal tower. Right. Oh, thank you for spawning it directly under my cursor. That is not sarcasm. I did not want to go have to find it. Alright, so now we're going to start doing an exploit here. So, I need a power piece. Alright, so what happens here is that we want to fill that gauge on the right to get power-ups, and it turns out that we can trick the game into thinking we are making a fuse combo and a gravity combo at the same time with this little wiggle where we pull the piece out and immediately stick it back into the stack. So I'm trying to get a setup going here. So we just get this little offset and then wiggle it in and out, and that causes it to register as both a gravity and a fuse combo. And that takes about 3 of those to fill up our meter to earn a power-up. What's left here? Is it just that? That's just that. And yeah, if you played this game as a kid, these levels are incredibly stressful because one mistake kills the entire stage. You gotta start over, and it can happen without you even knowing or seeing it. But we use the power-ups, we take out most of the stress. I can't say all of the stress because there are some stages in later episodes where you cannot pull off that trick because the block shapes don't allow it. But most of the time, it radically simplifies those stages. Gotta chip those blocks off the top to make sure we can interact with those. Oh, Treasure jumped on me again. What are we missing? It's this little corner. This is where vision comes into play. I'm looking at this, I'm like, I know it's a 3x3. What is holding me in? Because the piece peeled off the ball, which means it was cleared at some point, but they all have to be cleared simultaneously. And the crystal fell on top of it and was hiding in the corner. Alright. We got one more episode. You've seen most of the game at this point. It's just going to ask us to do more of it. And if there are any questions, I know this is a actually extremely difficult game to follow, so feel free to let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep digging. So you can start to see the ball is getting taller. The ball can get as high as 7 pieces. That's where it maxes out. The game almost always stops filling it up beyond 6 because you need the 7th row to drop into. I say almost always because there is one stage where the game literally maxes it out and provides you no space to drop. And your first order of business is to go searching around and trying to find a place where you can drag stuff off to the side enough to either make a combo or make room to drop. But that is decidedly post-game content. You'll also notice every stage in this run, we've always had 2 shapes. The game will give you up to 4 shapes in some of the harder levels in one level. Once you get beyond 2 shapes, it starts getting a lot harder to get those 20 combos and to get those power-ups. So power-ups start coming at a premium once that happens. But we will not see that in this category. It doesn't kick in until episode 4 in this mode. What's it going to take care of this? I have to get rid of this, unfortunately, and we just got large chains of pieces there, so I just had to burn a bunch just to get what I wanted. I said, managing the queue is a huge part of the speedrun. Where's the tower at? The next time we see the tower, it will actually be flushed with the pieces. It won't even be protruding, so it will be really hard to find. So I mentioned this game has what is probably the quote-unquote main mode of this game is called Rescue, and it is basically the hide-and-seek stages, but 100 of them. Again, getting increasingly complex, certainly beyond what we're going to see in this run in terms of the size and the density of blocks and stuff. There's also a versus human and versus comm mode. The versus comm mode I find to be extremely RNG dependent because there is no way to defend yourself. In a lot of puzzle games, the versus modes are if somebody attacks you, you can clear something and it will negate their combo and you can defend yourself. This game doesn't have that. Attacks always hit, which means that the higher level CPUs just rain so much garbage on you and you can't clear the level fast enough to avoid it, so it just turns into a slugfest really quick, which makes it a really difficult speedrun. Great for some people, not my cup of tea. There is also a puzzle mode, which has preset patterns that you need to clear. That is just going to be a straight memorization kind of thing as a speedrun, which has been done. It's been done blindfolded and deafened, which is pretty neat, but again, not really my personal thing.
Damage, you mind if I hop in real quick? We received a donation.
Absolutely.
Cool. We received $50. That's 50 from Indecisive Hobbyist with a message saying to make sure you don't forget. Thank you so much for the $50 donation. There was nothing put in the donation comment to put towards any incentives. Was there any incentives that you wanted to put towards? Just let me know in chat. You can split it up if you'd like to.
Thanks for the donation. Oh, we got a first try drill. That's nice. We haven't had a lot of those this run.
And that donation actually raises the overall total to $2,173. So getting even closer to 3,000. We're just right behind on 2,900. So let's keep the momentum going. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can get that 3,000 sooner than later. Fire block under there. I kind of want it, but it's a little bit far out of the way. So, alright, what do we got here? One thing that I haven't proven, but that I have a hunch about, is it does seem like when you start a run, there's 16 possible patterns for this, but it seems like within a run, it reuses the same couple of patterns over and over again. I haven't proven this, but I have a hunch. Thought we'd be out of that one for sure. It's just a little bit longer. The unique shapes can also be a good chunk of RNG because we really want ones that are compact. Some of them are extremely sprawly. They are not all made equal. Oh, this one's way over here. Same with the shift. I think the shift patterns also draw from a list as well. I don't think there's that many things it can be. I don't know that it matters as much to actually track that and find it out as some of the other things, because there's nothing we can do to abuse that knowledge and make the run faster. We just kind of hope that we get better ones. Alright, now I just had lost track of where my last dot is. Down, all the way down here. I think it might be all the way down here, slightly further up. See that dot? Okay. I need to figure out. It's all the way over here. That's what I had mentioned earlier about when you drop a drill and you don't know where it is. It's easy to get lost. We still can't quite get through here. And we can't do it with the wild. We need the actual piece. You don't have to have it fully dug out. You only have to have one square of it dug out to grab it. And it only has to have one square of itself visible as you drag it. So you can actually drag it through some areas that appear closed. But that one was actually extremely buried. Thanks to everyone in chat for turning out for this event and raising all this money for this cause. Always appreciate it. See that firepower up down there? I'm like, should I burn my laser just to take advantage of it? Kind of said no because I thought we were close, and now I'm kind of like, we weren't that close, so I thought we should have. Still stuck on this. Multi, also, the thing you don't want to see, you don't want to dig down to the bottom and find yourself in between like 4 different blocks. You really want to see the center of a picture come up. And we really want to try to get through these drill checks as fast as we can. There's just not a lot to do with these squares. I gotta get rid of them. It's not that one, so we're gonna have a find check again. Ideally, while the drill is dropping, we want to be breaking blocks. Either we want to be moving on to the next drill check and coming back, or we want to be breaking blocks around the drill check that we're on in the hopes that that happens to be the right one so we can get a head start. 3 over there to throw away. I'm actually going to use the laser on this one, see if we can get down and figure out what we got to do on this one a little more quickly. Still pretty.
Would you mind if I just hop in real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Jammitch is sitting at about like 47 minutes and 48 on his run, so just want to plug the next incentive. It's just kind of the bid war that's going on for Pokemon Puzzle League. Basically choosing the starter Pokemon through Bulbasaur, Pikachu, or Squirtle. Squirtle is in the lead with $25. Bulbasaur is in second place with 15. Pikachu third with nothing donated towards Pikachu. So if you'd like to see any other Pokemon aside from Squirtle, please get your donations in.
There, we definitely ran into one of the situations that can occur with the non-rectangular pieces. Like I say, they are much more permissive in how they break, but that also can result in just running out of them. So I was in a situation where I have a bunch of these in the queue. That was a little risky on my part, that double drop there, because that was at the max level. I could have struck out just from going too fast there. But you end up in a situation where all of the L's break away because they break so much more easily, even though you're getting the same number of pieces to clear stuff out. You just run out of the one that breaks more easily first, and then you have to scramble to find places to get rid of them. So that's the downside of the more permissive block types. That's actually a very unfortunate strike to take, not because of the strike itself, but because it's blocking my way out. Because all we needed was that, and I thought I burned the extra piece. Getting a strikeless run of this would be extremely impressive. Probably wouldn't save quite... It would definitely save time, but probably not as much as you might think, though. Three more chapters to go, including one more crystal tower. Surprised to see that one strike. Oh, this lines up pretty nice. Happy for that. Looks like we found it. I think it's actually in both of these. We really do like to see all the drills clustered together, not only because it makes the checks easier, but it also, if there's 3 drills in one spot, there's 3 in 5 chance that that's the right spot. And sometimes you do get this situation where... Oh, wow. Okay. This is actually not a drill stage. I should have noticed that. My point still stands for drill stages. We love having them together. But the reason why all the drills are together and why the check succeeded is because we're actually on ship. I seem to always forget about this one. Most of the 2s are actually drills. This one is kind of that odd exception. Alright, so to kind of hide that, let's show this over here. It's gonna beep at us. We'll be okay. You can see it's starting to get a little bit closer, but it's not too fast at this stage of the game. I want to use this bomb when I run out of really great things to do with these. So once you drop the bomb, or the rocket, actually, you do get a little bit of extra time to start another combo. Oh, see that floating block? The game messed up with the bomb. Eventually a garbage collector will come by and fix it. But you gotta watch out for it. It's there, it still counts. You can't break it because it's not the right size, but it will get in your way. It will strike you. So this is not one of my favorite patterns to see. This is actually an extremely meandery setup. We've got basically a sine wave thing going on here. It's not one of the better connect patterns. Okay, we saw it turn back up, which means we're almost done with it, but we're back in this situation where nothing we need is in the queue. We need one more T to finish this out. We should do it. That's a really long meandering pattern, don't like to see it. Alright, so where's the tower? I thought I might have saw it. Tower is flush with the ball now, so we can't look for protrusion, we just need to look for the actual color. I'd love to have or get a power up here. They actually help out a ton. Oh, that was an act. I thought that was an element. Now we gotta look at that. Yeah, while the rocket's firing, we're gonna go make a few additional combos. We don't want to do them too much in the range of the rocket, we can usually get away with one before the rocket basically freezes everything going on in the area. You can't do that with the laser or the magnet because those are activating with they're firing from your cursor. Same with the dynamite. The dynamite stops immediately, does the area of effect, and then you can start dropping. Now the atom, not only does it freeze your cursor, it actually stops any running combos. So it's kind of slow in addition to being only situationally useful. So it's really something I don't spend a lot of time using in the speedrun unless I know I'm on a connect stage that I know is going to give me some trouble. We got to be close here. This one, I think we should be out. Okay. 2 more chapters to go. And we're going to see the largest connect of the run in this chapter, which, you know, the biggest RNG swing in the entire chapter and an entire run, and it's this late in the game. I'm a little bit annoyed by the pieces I'm getting, so we're going to use a power-up. It's a great use of power-ups, especially as you start to get into the harder stages. Now, unfortunately, we didn't dig in the right spot. Didn't have any way to know, but we got unlucky. So, I'm wondering if that dynamite would be good to use. I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary. No, we're still caught under here. So now we have to kind of go through the somewhat obnoxious process of trying to get this block out enough that we can interact with it. It always sucks to dig down and then have to work out on the sides. You always want to try to dig a bigger hole at the top and then narrow inward. Even if it feels like you're digging too much at the top, it ends up better. Let's get down here. Alright. Should be pretty close here. There we go. You can tell this stage is over when the camera snaps to focus on the picture. This would be a great moment to get in any more announcements you have as we get close to the end of the run.
Yeah, absolutely. No further donations came in. Just want to say that those bid war incentives for the Pokemon Puzzle League block that's coming, or the Pokemon Puzzle League run that's happening next, are still open. If you want to get any of those donations and to kind of skew the values to see when to win, Pokemon's going to get chosen. Aside from that, we're currently sitting at $2,873, getting close to 3K. Just as Jammitch said earlier, I am very, very sure as well that we could definitely hit that 3K goal soon, actually. So aside from that, no other announcements. Back to you, Jammitch. How much more time do you think on your run?
Under 10 minutes for sure.
Nice.
We're pretty close. This is probably the longest remaining stage, actually, and we actually got a good pattern on it, which will help out.
Nice. So yeah, you heard that, Chad. If you want to get those donations in for that Pokemon Puzzle League bid war, please get those donations in.
So we got a good pattern. We got a pretty effective laser. I didn't exactly hit my target because again, you're tapping fast and counts get off. But we just had a little bit of cleanup afterwards, so I don't like those bricks. When bricks are too close together, you can end up with the situation where the brick entirely blocks the piece below it. And as I said, a piece has to have one space vertically open above it to be interactive. And the bricks are not interactive, And if they completely cover the piece underneath it, you can't interact with the piece below it. You literally cannot drop the brick. It becomes a dead brick. We would like to avoid that, so we don't want to get bricks that are... We don't want to work in areas where there are 2 bricks next to each other. It's a bad time. Get that one out, this one out, and then I sweep that. There we go. I think we need to do a 4x4 dig on this one. We also have seen our last non-rectangular pieces for the entire run. The rest of the run will be rectangles the entire way, so I hope you like rectangles. Because we got rectangles. 4x4 is actually rather difficult to visualize. So this will set the edge of a 4x4. There we go. That's pretty clean, actually. Alright, one more chapter. One more crystal tower. That is really the big gatekeeper between us and the end. Nothing too new going on though, so just again, taller stacks. We don't actually even get into the other ways of increasing difficulty in this category. Again, the game will add more shape. In addition to making the ball taller, which is what it's done, the game will add more shapes. The game will speed up the timers. It will not only will it speed up the color timers, it will speed up the rate at which the ball attacks you. If you're playing rescue mode, even at speedrun speeds, chapters 8 through 10 are so aggressive on the timers that we spend the entire time in red time, and when there's 4 shapes on the ball, it's actually hard to find a match. So we are actually at real risk of striking out, even at speedrun skills, even with speedrun strats on those late levels. And that's true in the late levels in hide and seek as well, but those levels are like, that's episodes 4 and 5. Again, that category takes about 3 hours. It's a lot of Tetrisphere. I always told myself, I'm never going to do a 3-hour category, and then, you won't believe it, I did a 3-hour category. Anytime a speedrunner says they won't do something, oh, they are lying to themselves. Alright, I want to hold this power up through this next stage if I can. It may end up tempting me to use it, but we would really rather carry it into the crystal tower. So I mentioned there are 16 unique shapes. 16 shapes in unique. They actually are all colored slightly differently. So you could theoretically look down this window and tell which shape is which. It's really subtle though. It's not something I have figured out. I think this is the one. No, this is the sine wave again. Oh man, I want to use this laser so bad. I'm gonna do it. We're gonna rocket back, so that justifies it somewhat. I think that was worth it. Okay, the crystal tower is not flush with the ball, at least. So we should be able to see it protrude. Thought I saw it. Yeah. Okay. Now let's do some safety brakes. Okay, you love to see it if I can actually get there. Okay, if we see a fire block, we absolutely want to prioritize getting that power up. It's going to be faster than trying to mill them. Alright, so this needs to be here. This. Nope, that's not going to work out. You're starting to threaten me a little bit. Not getting great alignment for these, actually. Yeah, I'm not. This is actually really bad alignment. Looking, this might work. Especially on these later ones, you start having to go search quite a distance just to find stuff that works as you start to mill increasingly larger numbers of power-ups. Oh, I thought that was going to do it. It did not. Do a little diagonal move. You can move pieces diagonal in one shot, which comes in handy. Like you can move around the crystal tower if you move diagonally. Out of places you might not think that you could otherwise make it. Doing diagonal moves around the crystal tower is definitely a big brain strat. I don't recommend it. I am not finding a lot of good places to mill power-ups. I think we might be done here, though. Okay, there we go. Alright. We got one stage left. And it's a more normal hide and seek. Through the most stressful stage of the end game. All these pieces are lining up really nice. One of the things that can happen with these pieces, with the long pieces in particular, is they can line up offset like bricks. I call it a masonry layout, and that gets really obnoxious to work with. Oh, there was a orphan just hanging out there. Alright, get this out of here, and time.
That's GG.
Thank you. Is this the Death Star? Maybe. So that's Tetrisphere. It's an extremely deep puzzle game. It has a lot more going on than it appears once you get under the surface. But I'm Tish. I highly recommend giving it a shot if you haven't, either as a speedrun or, casually. We don't have a lot of runners, so we'd be happy to see somebody else get interested in it and pick it up. But it's just a great casual game. Music's great. Great example of the early N64 library. I think that's all from me. Thanks to Slurpathon for having me. And we got, Puzzle League coming up next?
Yes, yeah. So thank you so much, Jammitch. Yeah, we have Pokemon Puzzle League coming up next. And Taman, ND, we're just going to get him sound checked and good to go. So yeah, do you have anything else, Jammitch, before we head over to the beer backstream?
Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks again for having me. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much.